Looks like we are set up with a little bit more Wirfs dark side versus BKippel's light side throne room mains. Interestingly, it seems as though Wirfs did not opt to move to the audience chamber turn one. He stayed at the security tower with Boba Fett there. My guess is he didn't feel comfortable with his opening hand to be able to set up the audience chamber and not walk into a beatdown. Interestingly enough, we see Brad played the one Luke Skywalker that could not go to the audience chamber if Boba Fett were there. So I wonder if he had another Luke in his hand, or if Boba might have actually been safe turn one. This is a matchup that we have tested quite a bit, in that throne room can be kind of tough for CCT. We have come up with a little bit of tech for it. However, it looks like Wirfs may not have found his tech. It's entirely possible that you activate things turn one. Can't get set up all the way. All right, Duro comes down. We're going to see an IG-88, I'm assuming. We're going to see a Forlom. Forlom is going to hopefully get after some game text here. Proxima. Then I imagine Fett might move. The other possibility is that Wirfs may have missed his He's All Yours Bounty Hunter turn one. Oh, he took it into hand turn one. So that was not what happened. He just decided to wait to move Boba until this turn. This is admittedly somewhat of a scary option for Wirfs. He's facing down more deployment to the audience chamber and potentially things like Sorry About the Mess, Clash of Sabers, all those battle tricks that light side does have. They're definitely very real and very scary early in the game. Boba Fett gets that exchange, so he might be able to fend off the battle. That would probably be the best option for Wirfs at this point, is just to eat that weapons display damage and stunning leader the battle if it does take place. Wirfs moves his captive over to Forlom, probably. Good option just in case everybody dies, because then the Forlom can run away with the captive and Lightside cannot free him. He's actually going to move Forlom over to the audience chamber, or to the dungeon, excuse me. Interesting call. Be interesting to see what Brad got in his opening hand here. He has Clash of Sabers, so I think this is going to be a tough fight for. Sorry About the Mess instead. So you have the Canceller. Imbalance combo as a response, possibly. No. No, Wolfman, I'm not wearing my Jedi robe. Put on a sweatshirt, I was a little bit chilly. A 1 and a 1 for Destiny. Well, boy, if that's not about as lucky as you could get, I don't know what is. Luke misses Boba Fett with sorry about the mess, and Wirfs gets off the hook. Obi-Wan, barrier. As I said, Wirfs gets off the hook. Oh, inconsequential barriers. Maybe he doesn't. I still think Stunning Leader probably happens here. That seems like the best option. Rey's going to get a lightsaber. Boy, abandoning this audience chamber looks probably like the play at this point. I've noticed Wirfs has not played his Scum and Villainy yet, and I wonder if he may have done that intentionally. He has now moved the captive over, so he cannot play Scum and Villainy anymore. While Frozen Captive is at Audience Chamber, Scum and Villainy is immune to alter, and you made a play from reserve deck. So he cannot do that anymore. But I wonder if he did not, if that wasn't intentional, just so that Kippel could cancel it at some point, when he scares all these aliens out of here. Wirfs is going to eat the 2 damage to weapons display, and it looks like he did exchange with Boba for Stunning Leader. 5 cards in hand for Wirfs. He might have to abandon the audience chamber here. Take a drain 4 with those 2 lightsabers there. U3PO would be helpful, especially after that wasted sorry about the mess. Proxima is going to reveal the top 3 cards. Unfortunately, they're not revealed to us, but we do see that Wirfs takes Aura Sing with Blaster Rifle into hand. That could potentially mean he might try to mount an attack here. Only 9 force, it's going to be tough to do so. Iggy's nice. Iggy's going to give us some force pile pulls, and Wirfs can start setting up as he eats drains of 4 from Brad Kippel. Tough matchup for CCT. Very little margin for error, I feel like. And I think that this throne room actually, in particular, is one that's difficult. That version that plays the farm, they get those use pile searches. They get a battleground that's on Tatooine. All of those types of things. I noticed Wirfs did split up the 2 battlegrounds with the dungeon, which I think is the right call. Otherwise, I've actually played games where the light side just stacks all of their guys at the Lars Moisture farm and then moves over when they're ready to do so. And then kind of puts the onus on you to initiate the battle. And then Clash of Sabers, sorry about the mess, those types of things all happen after you initiate the battle. They hit all your guys. That's how that happens. So it looks like Wirfs is just going to move all of his guys over to the dungeon, conceding the audience chamber for the time being. I'm going to try and get those Iggy pulls online. Interesting that he moved all of his guys before transferring the captive to Iggy, though. Otherwise, he could have gotten 5 cards to look at instead of just 2. Slight misplay there. All right. Brad's turn number 4 here. I would imagine we see, yep, Battle Order Shield come out from Wirfs, paying to drain for 4. I would probably just stack another guy at that audience chamber and turn the turnover. Not really necessary to do much more than that. Brad does have to be slightly careful about not overcommitting to the audience chamber. He doesn't want to find himself in a situation where all those aliens just move out to the large moisture farm and then a couple of them go to the carbonite chamber and the retrieval happens and the force drains happen and suddenly you're being matched in damage while your opponent does things like play projective telepathy on you as you try to pay to drain. In this case, obviously, Brad's still going to pay 5 to drain for 4. It's expensive, but it's worth it. He gets a Ponda Baba, Woof, Voyeur, and Probot. Voyeur and Probot would both be nice cards to have in this matchup. Ponda Baba and Woof, we obviously saw do quite a bit of work in that last game. Typically, they're more space-oriented cards. However, if we don't ever see a system hit the table, they may have been useful on the ground this game as well. I think that Wirfs will probably miss Voyeur and Probot a little more. Voyeur for that kind of extra grabber type capability, as well as getting a little extra damage through, and then Probot to threaten, a big drain at the JCC or something like that would have been nice once he establishes a couple battlegrounds. Yeah, I agree with you, Wolfman. I think Projective was a great grab. I mean, you see people grab all kinds of stuff against CCT because it has so many grabby interrupts and it runs like one-offs of all of them. I think Projective is probably the grab here. The other one possibly, ironically enough, coincidentally enough, would be maybe Imbalance Combo, depending on how many Sorry About the Messes he runs. I say that because we see U3PO coming down to just nullify that drain for the time being. However, there are other ways around that. While Cornhorn is not an option, he's a common option, but not against this deck because he is captive. Things like that, Quite a Mercenary Virtual, that's a common card recently. Not necessarily as much in Throne Room, although it could make its way in there. But really, Sorry About the Mess. It tends to be Maine's way of taking care of undercover spies. That or maybe a Jar Jar with a Lisa, which I could see Brad running as well. Yeah, it's a good point that you make, Wolfman. And I would imagine that Wirfs is probably going to try and capitalize on having the Dark Time loop. Projective, while good, like we said, it's worth it to pay 5 to drain 4 right now. Like, what else are we doing in the matchup? So, we see a Sorry About the Mess non-combo. That is one way around Imbalance. That is for sure. The droid is going to go to Lost Pile here, it looks like. The thing about that is I don't think Wirfs minds too much. It's kind of funny that I say that because he's about to eat a big, huge drain here after having just lost his undercover spy. However, Dr. Afra is a thing. She could get that spy back. I find that Sorry About the Mess is the least effective counter to U3PO in this deck because you have so much retrieval, you have so many options for getting him back. It just seems like you end up playing him again more often than not. It does get a good drain of 4 through here, which is 2 Scum and Villainies right together off the top. I can't tell you how often I feel like Gemp does that, but Jospur and He's All Yours Bounty Hunter as well. Queso stopping in the stream. Hey, nice to see you, man. Hope you're feeling a little bit better. Missed you this weekend. As I texted you, the event was notably lacking some sauciness. Well, we had quite a bit of fun. We definitely wished we could have had you here. So, thanks for stopping by, man. We got, where's Han? Must have been looking for that Han Chewie Falcon, but it looks like he didn't find it. That's kind of an interesting play. That does sort of telegraph to Wirfs that there is no solo in this deck. Solo being someone that could play your sorry about the mess out of the lost pile. That's an interesting play. I haven't seen a whole lot of throne rooms doing that, but that's some kind of fun tech. All right, what's Wirfs going to do here? He's going to play Chelly, and he's going to get his undercover spy back. How about that? I feel like this is almost deja vu or something. Yeah, I think you're right, Queso. I think he must be playing Han Chewie Falcon in this throne room, and it's even possible that he's playing. Well, I mean, like he doesn't the Where's Han work with the Episode 7 Skywalkers, so he's probably playing General Leia as well, and then sorry, it looks like we're lagging out here a little bit. Oh, we got a revert. That's why. So yeah, let's see if we can read Where's Han here. Pulls it on Han. If you just lost a gambler, take that gambler in hand, or once per game, exchange card in hand with a resistance agent or an Episode 7 Skywalker in Lost Pile. So I would imagine that's probably a big benefit for him as well. While he doesn't have a resistance agent, unless he's playing against map, getting that Episode 7 Skywalker back in a clutch situation by just having one card to exchange for it could be really, really good. So he probably does throw the Han Chewie Falcon in there as well. You want to see old school General Solo V and backdoor decks again. You gotta break out your RST or something for that, Queso. All right, so we see the Prince and Zam go down. Like I said, establishing those battlegrounds, this objective is really weird in how it functions. A lot of your benefits get turned off when they take over the audience chamber, but not all of them. You'll see here, at all times, your aliens and independent starships are immune to attrition less than 4, and you can retrieve a force during your control phase. There's no condition on that. It's just while you're flipped. But then you have to have the frozen captive at the audience chamber for Scum and Villainy to be immune to attrition, as well as for you to be able to deploy Scum and Villainy from the reserve deck. Similarly, Despair only functions, I mean, it works always with the deploy +1 and the force drains +1. However, Jabba's Prize and Scum and Villainy have to be together in order to get that power bonus in battles. So it's kind of interesting how what gets turned on and off depending on, man, he's just got all the sorry about the messes, doesn't he? Look at that. There's another one. So that's the third sorry about the mess that we've seen coming from Brad. It's got to be his last, right? It's got to be. And the Drain of 4, burying the droid, which might be gone for good now. We see, sorry, I had the chat locked there. You'll Be Dead, Imbalance, Maul's Sith Infiltrator, and Hondo come off the top. This is, if I'm in Wirfs' position, this is where I start feeling pretty uncertain about this game. He was looking good. He was mitigating well early on. Brad had a lot of answers. He had a lot of answers. And that's the problem with this matchup is that while you're spending all of your resources as the CCT player mitigating what they are doing, they're not spending all of their resources putting one guy to the audience chamber, paying to drain, things like that, so they can reinforce their hand. You see, Brad's got 10 cards in his hand even after playing 2 this turn. Um, it, After playing 3 with the sorry about the mess. So he's able to get a little bit more of a hand. Wirfs even makes the comment in the chat, the perfect storm. I don't know that it's the perfect storm. I think it's a good draw this game. Brad says so himself. But Throne Room is definitely allowed to draw more cards in this matchup than CCT is. I don't think it hurt that Brad found all of his activation. This deck that we have built, the CCT deck, can really choke your opponent well. But if Throne Room finds all their activation, they find all their activation. It's just kind of how it goes. My guess would be, I think we're late enough in the game that we can safely say Wirfs did not move Boba Fett to the audience chamber turn 1 because he did not have Gra in his reserve deck. That was our big tech coming into this weekend. This is Wirfs' last game of CCT for the weekend, so I feel like I can kind of spill the beans now. You guys have probably seen us testing Gra to the audience chamber turn 1 against mains makes them have to pay extra to play their guys there. Even against Hitco, it makes Luke deploy cost +2. And you can pull him from the audience chamber turn 1, pull her from the audience chamber turn 1. So my guess was he must have activated Gra. He wasn't able to do that. If that were the case, I mean, seeing that Brad has episode 7 Luke, who couldn't even deploy to the audience chamber, I think Brad would have had a really, really tough time going at that site as easily. And it might have bought Wirfs a little bit more time to be able to get the setup that he needed. We see Brad's just going to continue retrieving cards, getting all of his sorry about the messes back, so he can play them over and over again. That is one of the hardest things with aliens. If you get susceptible to something like sorry about the mess, it can happen over and over again. I remember playing a game of Court versus Throne Room one time, and my opponent must have played sorry about the mess on me 5 times. I felt like I should have grabbed it. And you see, Wirfs did grab it, right? Thanks, Queso. Sick Gra tech. We've been trying to hide it from people, but I know the cat got out of the bag for a few people. I saw a few others testing it, but it's way better in CCT than it is in Court, for example, because you can afford to waste your audience chamber pull on Gra. As bad as that may seem, you're typically not audience chamber pulling Duro. Duro into Iggy is pretty expensive against Throne Room, and it's not always guaranteed either. You could activate one of the pieces of it. And neither of those are great fighting cards. While Gra is not a great fighting card, she does have that control aspect of not letting your opponent deploy as much. And I mean, you look at BKippel, who's activating 13 Force. If he has to pay 2 extra to deploy one of his mains, he might be able to play another main and fight. And that's where something like Stunning Leader, Projective Telepathy comes in huge, is they play that second guy, have 1 force left over to initiate the battle, and then suddenly you Projective Telepathy to cancel the battle, can reinforce, can deploy a bunch more guys, can initiate your own battle, can retrieve force for doing so. The control aspect of that force choke can be huge if it works out to your favor. Looks like Wirfs is going to come contest. I think he doesn't really have any choice at this point. I think he's probably trying to mitigate a little bit of damage here and keep his retrieval online. He was only at the 1 battleground there, so He is going to eat a drain of 2 from the Carbonite Chamber, which Brad saved money, so I don't see why he wouldn't just initiate that Force Drain and then initiate that battle. So Wirfs does the activation, gets a card out of his pile with IG88. If he hasn't already, I was going to say he might have been looking for Gick, but it was in his lost pile, so it looks like he might just be looking at drawing up here before too long. Looks like we got some lag. I was dealing with a little bit of this playing games yesterday, but it seemed like it overnight was, I was hearing people saying that it was quite bad. So we tried to boot people off of observing games. It seems like things have still been pretty slow. That was actually why I jumped on the stream for you guys, is because I knew there was a couple of games that might be getting overlooked as far as broadcasting goes, and I wanted to try and make sure we were making everything available to everybody. All right, we're back. So Brad's going to look for Yoda, kind of verify the cards in his deck, see if these battles are worth it, or this battle rather. Lando with the used pile search for probably another character. The other option might be draw their fire. I saw you just drew that for Destiny not too long ago, and that would prevent a second stunning leader or some other annoying trick. $25 and 2 Destinies to $18 and 2 Destinies. Does Obi-Wan hit? It's not a great start. He doesn't need super high draws to hit Proxima, though. Looks like that might be a miss. Oh, Jedi Lev. Better try that one more time. Looks like he did play the Jar Jar we were talking about a little bit earlier. And the second swing is a 5. The Wisa that we were talking about alongside Jar Jar. It's like Gimp's listening to me or something. The question now is Clash of Sabers. Looks like we're going to get a shot at Rey. It's kind of an interesting choice. I might have taken the 2 draws against a Jedi. I'm not sure. Or maybe even Lando. Lower ability. I don't know about that. Anakin to Boba Fett. A 4. That's a good start because it's a 5. and a 1, which is a good enough finish. It's a 2. Good to draw that for Weapon Destiny instead of Battle Destiny, right? For long, I'm going to cancel Lando's text. So 1 Destiny. And then for long, I'm just going to bite the dust here. Now that's one he would have liked for his Battle Destiny. Forlom gets blasted, and it looks like we're going to have a lone IG-88 sitting at this site. Possibly one other alien hanging out with him, but not likely. Artillery. Here you go, Wirfs. That artillery damage. Yeah, Wolfman, I think you're right. Forlom Lando. I still think I would have shot with Aura at Lando and with Fett at Ray, maybe? Because Fett adds 2. I don't know. It's kind of a toss-up, probably. So the life force counts here are 29 for Brad Kippel to 14 for Chris Wirfs. 5 in hand for Wirfs, 9 in hand for Kippel. The 5 for Battle Destiny will kill both the aliens, leaving Iggy by himself. Or I guess it might just kill Iggy. I'm not sure. Here's that 0. Been waiting for that one to come up. Yeah, get rid of that high forfeit, right? Yeah, I think you're right, Wolfman. I'm not sure. I think it's kind of a losing proposition no matter which way we split the hairs, you know. Better get rid of that 0. And see, it's there is a little bit of irony in that, I guess, because I think the one possibility of any sort of inkling of way Wirfs could stay in this game would be establishing space at this point, and then he draws his only system for Battle Destiny. I think even at this point, that's too far out of reach. You know, being able to afford to put a spaceship up there, relying on the fact that Kippel doesn't have his own spaceship to counter with. It's probably too late, but still kind of a little bit of irony in there. Wirfs activates it all. He's going to take a card into force pile, or hand from force pile. And if I were him, I think I would draw up here. Oh, he's going to suicide himself. That works too. Iggy never gets hit. Who needs backup, right? But that is a moot point as we see 21 overflow for Wirfs and a win by 30 for Kippel. I suppose this probably is the right play for Wirfs, just in the event that Kippel might have had an interrupt or something in his hand. However, he could have played it during the battle, I guess. So Wirfs hopes for the bye. All right. Well, that's the end of game 2 that we have broadcast here. Game 3 of that round. I believe we have another pod kicking off here in a couple hours. So we'll see if anything else is still live. We got Chris Kelly, Taco Bell. We got Gornall and Euro Imp. Is Kelly Kafer on stream? Well, let's get it on stream. We're about to find out what it looks like, just for you, Grady. I mean, Mike Turner streaming rules and all. Or is that rules and all, or like I rule and all? Looks like we're having some big battles here at the Watto's Junkyard. Fun. We got Watto versus Throne Room. I have, admittedly, guys, not been keeping up very well on what people have been playing today and stuff. I always wondered why the streamers didn't do a better job of that, and it's because you're watching the stream the whole entire time. So I learned a little something today. But we're mid-battle here. It looks like we have a hit on Dr. E with his blaster rifle, which is going to get him right on out of that battle. This is a very interesting game right now. While I admit I don't know a ton about either of these decks, I'm not a mains player. I have been fiddling around a little bit with Watto lately. I like it quite a bit. I like the difference in mechanics. Jar Jarring Watto is probably the play. Yes, I agree, Wolfman. Otherwise, this is a bad battle. So, I think that Taco Bill must have a destiny that he is pretty confident is going to get Watto here. It's a 5. That pretty confidently should get Watto. 5 versus a 4. Well, we were pretty confident. Confident enough. $16 and 2 Destiny now. That seems a little bit better. A 5 for Destiny. And a 4 for Destiny. I think Jar Jar is super good in the meta right now, guys. With all the CCT we've seen running around, Watto has been on the rise. ISB characters have low ability. I mean, I think he is just money right now. So many spies in the meta. Him and Wisa is really good. Like, I think Jar. I might have to find room for him in my QMC deck. Maybe a Brisky Morning Munchkin too. All right, so it looks like Chris Kelly's going to take 9 attrition here. My guess is he loses that maintenance vehicle, and then obviously one of the EPPs, probably Aura, right? All right, so the onus is on Chris Kelly here. Can Kylo Ren take on Rey? Or excuse me, take on Leia. That's not Rey. He is going to show us his best effort, I think. We're kind of at that point in the game where Watto really fizzles out a lot. But turn 7, especially with Watto not on the table, right? He's gonna have a tough time pumping out any damage here. So he's got a couple Imperials, more utility characters than fighting characters, but they're power nonetheless. Looks like he might be able to force Leia into forfeiture here. Taco Bell says the Imperial Punishment Squad plus Kylo. Yeah, I was about to say the same thing, Chris Kelly. Yeah, I think Watto's pretty fun right now. I've seen actually people playing Gra Gra and Watto as well. Interestingly enough, we switched over from that game where I was talking about that being some tech for us, and then we move over to a deck that Gra Gra also kind of fits in. However, I don't think Chris is probably playing her. I mean, it's possible, but this looks like a more like mains and toys Watto rather than the control Watto that, for instance, I saw Justin Maeshiro was playing the other day. Yesterday in the tournament, he played Watto with like the Arctic Jawa, broken concentration, that kind of stuff. I even saw he had Dacha in there to cause your opponent to pay 2 for the deployment, stuff like that. So he was really trying to eat up his opponent's life, or not life force, but force pile, in order to get a beat down in or kind of control them from being able to deploy what they wanted. I think Gra Gra probably fits in that version of Watto better than the more efficient characters, if you will. The good cards, right? See a 1 and Chewie, and we see a 1, which is actually a 3 from Tarkin in Battle Destinies. Leia is going to take a little bit of overflow here. Does Taco Bell have the Hoojix? Because now is the time for the Hoojix, if there ever was one. Chris Kelly probably loses. I would think I would have lost Mahdi. However, Mahdi can shuttle up to that Star Destroyer, I guess. I'd just be worried about a Jyn Erso here towards the end of the game. Although snipers probably a thing for Chris Kelly. Oh, I missed the Odnesser. So he didn't need the Hoojix. My bad. All right, 3PO doing his work here. Yeah, I do agree, Grady. That was kind of an ouch for Bill that last turn. But I think he's in pretty good position still. If he has a guy that can kill Kylo, Chris Kelly's going to pay 1 to drain or pay 3 to drain for 1. Sure, he's not up here, is he? Thrawn and Mahdi. So yeah. Well, of course, Taco Bell sits over here and pays 3 to drain for 3 at Mos Espa. seemingly in Taco Bell's favor right now. However, Chris Kelly is holding on to those 3 cards in his hand. He must be feeling like they'll be helpful here. I could see a sniper in hand in hopes of hitting the character that initiates the battle here. Oh, no worries, Grady. We're just glad to have you tuning in, man. Solo as a Battle Destiny 1, and Tarkin as a Battle Destiny 2 this time instead of 3. Ahsoka lives through that. I think Bill's going to be willing to take the peeling 2, and Kylo does die. So Chris probably has a character to come back with. However, both Ahsoka and Anakin with Rex at an episode one Battleground are tough to deal with right now. Considering Chris Kelly only has 12 life force, it's going to be one character that he can play. You know, best case scenario, it's an EPP, maybe another EPP Kylo, maybe a Vader, something like that. Maul, I guess, is possible. But trying to take out one of those sites is going to be tough without losing the site again yourself. Chris Kelly plays Voyeur. Calls out Rescue in the Clouds. He got 2 of them. Nice call, Chris Kelly. Bill says, well, I will lose that Destiny 1 from the top of my use pile. And a perimeter scan as well. Yeah, I agree. I think you're right. This might be it. We'll see what Chris Kelly can do here. He's got a turn. You know, he might be able to. You know, what would a presence of the Force to the JCC plus a guy there right now look like? That could happen. You know. Yeah, I agree with you. 2 cards in hand, unlikely. I mean, I think presence is kind of unlikely. It's possible in Watto, I guess. A way to get some of that extra damage in, but it's also a card that could deploy, right, with your flip side of your objective that you can put down. However, yeah, I think you're right. I think it's probably this Lord Sidious we're seeing right now, and I think we probably have a Gick in hand is the extent of it. So Chris Kelly will get free drains in space for 1, and Taco Bill will take paid drains of 3 on the ground to finish this game out, I think. Lottie's going to shuttle. Thrawn going to shuttle? Thrawn can't shuttle. If Thrawn shuttled, we would be looking at the possibility of Tantive coming down or something. Although I doubt that happens. Probably would have already happened to Mustafar if it was going to. Looks like Bill chose Dark Time for his grab, the right choice. And it looks like Chris Kelly chose Wisa as his grab. Probably also the right choice, honestly. Especially if he's playing undercover spies or anything like that. So we talked about the prevalence of Jar Jar in the meta right now, and how good he is. I think that's very reasonable for Chris Kelly. All right, we get a Drain of 3, we got a Lateral Damage, we got an Imp Decree, and we got a Tempest Scout 6. Chris Kelly down to 10 Life Force, 1 in hand, versus 15 Life Force, 3 in hand for Taco Bill. I doubt Taco Bill fights here. If anything, he might move Rex over. Oh, look at that. There's that Tantive I was just mentioning. It does go to Mustafar. Free drains. And then Anakin is going to move over. And Rex probably as well. Yep. Very tough for Chris Kelly to fight into with 1 card in his hand. And 10 Life Force. I mean, you can't even really realistically go double-bladed maul if you do. You can't swing your lightsabers. You can't draw your Battle Destiny. So probably a very safe play from Taco Bell here. All right, let's see what Chris Kelly's going to do with this turn here. I think this could make or break it. That 1 card in his hand. That 1 Gick in his hand, right, Greedy? He's saving a card to battle with. Drains 1 in space and gets Jedi's Concentration. A reasonable loss at this point, because even if an EPP came down, no lightsabers would happen to the dark side. Yeah, Grady, I'm totally up for that, man. So we're together. I'm always down for that. Yeah, we did play at Worlds 2018 together. You're right. I was at the after parties. I didn't miss that. Chris Kelly's drawn some cards. Looks like he might. He can't draw up. I was thinking he might draw and then lose to the Force Drain off the top of his reserve, but he's staying at 6. 12 Force for Taco Bill. He activates 9, which means another EPP. Obi, maybe? Yeah, I agree, Wolfman. After parties are the most fun. They say you come for the Star Wars and you stay for the crowd, right? Something like that. That's something I wouldn't know anything about, though, Kyle. Force Drains 3, Lord Maul, Blizzard Scout 1, and Surprise! Speaking of surprise, that's something that we talked about adding into that CCT deck that we just broadcast. Surprise, I believe, unfortunately, if I'm not mistaken, is bugged in GIMP, where sometimes it works on neighboring leads and sometimes it doesn't. So I wasn't super comfortable with playing a card that I wasn't sure if it was going to work when I wanted it to in my deck in a tournament. But definitely something good for like your projections that the light side likes to play on your sites. Good for that. You can move the neighbor and beat squad away, things like that. Looks like Taco Bell's going to go to space with a guy. Maybe slightly unnecessary at this point, unless he plans to just sit in front of that system. I don't know if he can afford to sit, though, because it's possible that Chris would just knock the Tantive out of space. The Imperial Command or something like that. Oh, maybe not now. Yeah, Joe Reed Avalon is real good. Spectating Avalon is just, I mean, that's as fun as playing Avalon. All right, so I don't know if I would have played those two cards if I were Bill. It's two cards you could have lost out of your hand to a Force Drain. Kind of takes away from your diff at this point. All right, we got another Voyeur. Are we going to go for rescue again? I think Chris goes for rescue again. Reveals the use pile. No interrupts found with the title Rescue in the Clouds. I bet Bill's going to put down Rescue in the Clouds right here with 3PO now. Probably not. He'd probably just play it next turn. All right. Chris Kelly's going to activate. Drain in space. I don't know that he's got many other options besides just that, though. Chris is really thinking through his activate phase here, trying to decide how many he wants to activate. Is it worth it to go through a turn of draining and trying to squeak out a little bit more from Bill's life force? Or is it inevitable at this point? I would have liked to have caught the beginning of this game because it seemed like things were shaping up very interestingly on the ground. Bill got a good battle in there at the junkyard with that Jar Jar and Watto, and I think that really turned the tide for him because it looked like it was real tight leading up to that point. I mean, they were pretty even on life force. They were pretty even on board state. Maybe even Bill was a little bit behind because he didn't have any space presence at that point. But that Jar Jar taking out Watto meant the two Battle Destinies went through. It was a big deal. And this is drain 2, and this is a drain 2. I would imagine, yep, Chris is going to move to block and let Bill drain on the ground. Looks like we got a whole bunch of people broadcasting this game at this point. Let's see. This might be the last one of the pod. That's why everybody's in here. I don't know. Looks like Cornell and the Euro Emperor still going at it as well. And no one is broadcasting this one, so I'll stay in this game for a little while. I think I might take another short break here for a minute as we wrap up this pod and then jump back into our final games of the pod when they start up with those. Let's see what this one looks like real quick, though. Oh, just looks like a pretty typical Hunt Down versus EVO. A whole bunch of stuff in space, and Vader on the ground by himself. Yep. I'm going to the ground. Probably going to move that Tarkin in. Going to take a drain of 3 in space. Drain of 2 on the ground. So he will be down to 3 life force. Visage is online for both players. This is going to come down right to the wire, it looks like. We'll hang out for a minute, see what ends up happening. Yeah, everybody else is watching the blowout game, and this is the close one, but nobody's broadcasting it. I guess that's what we're here for, right? I guess it wasn't a blowout game. That's not a fair assessment. All right, so Euroimp sacrifices his free drains to land and gives free drains to Gornall in space. I think that might have sealed his fate. Maul was in a world of hurt. There's no doubt about that. He had to get out of there because of Obi-Wan. But I wonder if he could have flown over here and just blanked ability over here. Oh no, he doesn't do that. Huh. I'm so stuck in my Maul ways. Yeah, Grady, it's got to be late for you, man. You're over in Africa still, aren't you? Yeah. All right. It looks like this is going to seal the fate of the Euro Emperor. Props to Menzo keeping it close. Hunt Down versus EBO is a tough matchup. I played this one at the MPC against JJD a couple years ago, and while I did keep it close as well, you seem to always come out on the losing end of it. So there's the GGs from both players, and that is going to wrap that game up. So it looks like this one's still finishing out. I'm going to take a quick 10-minute break or so. Maybe grab a bite to eat, but I will be back on after we get pairings for the next round. I want to see my buddy Wirfs finish out his games. So, thanks again, guys, for watching. I will be back on in a few minutes. I'm going to stop the stream here but I will make sure we get a link up when we go live again so that you guys are aware that we're streaming and can come and join us. All right, so thanks again. I'll see you guys later. Until then, may the force be with you.